Roguelikes come in many shapes and sizes, but they all have one thing in common. If you die, you go back to the beginning. Kind of. Every day, thousands of roguelikes release on Steam. With so many out there, it's easy for a few gems to slip through the cracks without getting the attention they properly deserve. Every so often, and sometimes like today, with your help, I plumb the depths of the roguelike category on Steam for these hidden gems. Last time I asked you for your recommendations. I played a lot of them, I enjoyed a bunch of them, and I've taken those games and compiled the video that you're currently watching, so I get a chance to talk about them in a bit more detail. Some of these are absolutely fantastic, and a couple of these helped delay this video by months as I sunk dozens and dozens of hours into them. If you like videos like this one, be sure to like and subscribe, ready for next time, because there will be a next time, and you do not want to lose this video to the endless void that is the YouTube algorithm. Without further ado, let's start big.
Witchfire, even though it's rated at 90+% on Steam, I feel like no one hardly knows about it yet. Is early access though?
We may be stretching the word hidden here a little bit, but compared to the big boys of the genre, Witchfire is almost anonymous. In Witchfire, the player is the Prayer, a sort of Catholic space marine, but instead of being powered by the light of the Emperor, you're powered by Witchfire, the magical essence of the witches. These are the evil that the Pope has sent you forth to hunt and destroy. I do love games, TV and movies which have occult or pseudo-religious themes, from the indirect like the Imperial Cult from Warhammer 40k, to the far more literal like Constantine or Preacher. Witchfire has so much going for it straight out the gates. Right away, Witchfire is gorgeous. Stunning vistas, amazing lighting turns rounding every corner into a potential desktop wallpaper moment. But the thing that really drew my attention was the weapon design, each one oozing with character and religious zeal. I really like it when these sorts of games inject their weaponry with this next level of theming. It just makes me think of like the crucifix shotgun from Constantine or the holy hand grenade. There's other games where you could just fighting with conventional weapons against demons or vampires or other foes. It's such a missed opportunity. But this game, every single weapon has some little bit of religious iconography injected into it. The gameplay loop is pretty straightforward. You take expeditions to the lands under the control of the witch, killing her minions, her more seasoned disciples, retrieving items, and most importantly Witchfire, which is used to level up. You'll also retrieve gold, used to unlock new weapons and buy items to make future expeditions run a little bit more smoothly. The action itself is superb, switching between your primary, secondary and special weapons, in between lobbing light and heavy spells for some really varied combat encounters. Mix in using verticality and cover to pick off your enemies and avoid being overwhelmed. Your guns gain passive abilities over time, like a shield which can absorb a hit on one of the assault rifles, to an ability on the bolt action rifle which has an ability that triggers on headshots, causing an AoE splash damage effect. Beyond the normal archetypes like handgun, assault rifle and shotgun, they each have bonus attributes letting you lean into certain playstyles. Your choice of weapon isn't just dictated by the range at which you want to engage your enemies. Entering new areas can be unnerving, as while some enemies recur and have clear attack patterns, new enemies can really catch you off guard the first time you encounter them. My first time heading into the ruined town, I was not prepared for what awaited me. Outside of the normal enemy groups on the map, there is also a sort of ritual that happens every so often, and spawns in huge waves of enemies to try and take you out. Here you can either destroy the ritual or just fight off the enemies. I could not destroy the ritual for the life of me, and the enemies were not too difficult to deal with. It definitely mixed up your encounters on the map. After loading up on loot, the extraction side kicks in and you need to escape with your riches. This can be straightforward. There's portals that you can just step out of, But there are other portals which spawn their own guards, and sometimes these packs of enemies can end up just roaming the map and getting introduced to other groups of enemies and forming huge hordes that you have to deal with. Once back in your base, you do quite a lot of what you'd expect. Unlock new weapons, upgrade existing ones, unlock new items, trinkets, level up, and with enough loot and the correct parameters fulfilled, you can up your agnostic level, which unlocks new levels, new elements to the base like a merchant. It also allows you to decode different magics and higher levels of magics, which can reveal hidden loot and shortcuts within the different levels. I'm kind of glad I didn't get through this video when I first started playing Witchfire, as it's been about 6 months between when I first started playing it and when I revisited it in preparation to actually sit down and make this video. Since then, it's come along in quite notable ways with new areas, with some slightly different unlocking mechanics, which feel a little bit fairer. It's good to see really solid progress in the time that has taken me to make this video. I've similarly played other games in that span with breaks of about 6 months in the middle, both still in early access, which haven't made the same sort of growth or progress that Witchfire has. And it does imbue me with a lot of confidence as it heads towards its final release. Overall, a really fun roguelike. Smooth action, solid character progression, and engaging mechanics. I played this way past the time I needed to talk about it, and look forward to reaching the final boss and sinking even more hours into it. The only barrier I can envision for someone here is the cost of entry. While I think it's well worth the price of admission, $40 or 30 odd pounds is a tough sell to a lot of roguelike gamers who are used to paying $5 to $10 per experience. Though if like me you want to see more bigger budget roguelikes enter the genre, support it and more will come.
And now for something completely different.
Rogue Voltage.
Ooh, mysterious. Gotta love the efficiency of this recommendation. Rogue Voltage bills itself as an engineering roguelike, which is something completely new to me. At its core, it's a turn-based strategy game, but one that features time manipulation and an unusual way of generating attacks. See, each member of your party has a set of components and a grid to place them onto. These components come together to make a machine, combining generators producing power, capacitors and batteries for storing it, health stations for healing, various triggers for setting off chain reactions and recycling expended energy into another module, outputting with weapons to do damage and decelerators to push enemies or allies back through time, affecting the turn order and avoiding or engaging obstacles within the timeline. The action involves balancing your power supply and triggers between immediate need and future utility. Do you strike down an enemy immediately or kick the can down the road, pushing the enemy back into a more advantageous position for a different character to get a stronger attack off? Do you accept getting hit while charging a heal in anticipation? Do you farm future resources or end battles quickly and decisively? There are so many options here. Grids can quickly become a mad tangle of wires, but because it develops over the course of a run, you gain modules naturally and it's easy to keep track of all of your options. The key here is fully utilizing your potential across the party. Outside of combat, the game has a pretty familiar roguelike structure, but everything is delightfully animated. I love the way the perspective goes through subtle changes in combat, and the animated backgrounds as you traverse the world, especially at camp with these crashes of lightning. Later in rounds, you get into the end game with these time waves or distortions charging across the battlefield. It really adds a lot of weight to the action, something that turn-based strategy games can sometimes struggle with. Above all, I really enjoy the tactileness, I think that's a word, of everything in the game. Connecting wires and flipping switches in the action, but also in the menus and elsewhere. So many clicky switches which you don't see very often nowadays in the real world. All these jumbles of wires crossing over each other in and out of devices. It's got this cobbled together feel, like if Scrap Heap Challenge was a roguelike. Sorry America, I don't know if you get that reference. Maybe that's part of why this game draws me in so much. As a kid, I loved things like Robot Wars or Scrap Heap Challenge. I was never very hands-on or buildy as a kid, but I appreciate the art of taking a box of scraps and turning it into something else entirely. This game demands thought and is a good antidote to all the mind-numbing roguelikes that end up peeling away my day if I let them. I definitely wasn't playing optimally. I would love to see this in the hands of someone a lot more competent than myself. Looking at you, Amjasan. Ultimately, this really is a hidden gem. It's not going to be for everyone, but it has so much going for it. If anything you've seen strikes a chord with you, check it out.
The Last Spell is easily one of the best and talked about games, and importantly has mechanics about influencing the loot tables that every other game ignores and fucks up progression and pacing.
The Last Spell is the consequences of a world with magic. Magic has ravaged this world. The kings of distant realms have unleashed magical nuclear Armageddon on one another. The ruined remains of the world now have to deal with the fallout, a purple mist suffocating the land, and each night bringing forth hordes of the undead. Humanity has but one hope, a final spell, the Last Spell, one to remove magic from the world, taking with it the mist and all the creatures lurking within it. Lots of roguelikes have lore, have fluff, but I love the Last Spell's setup. It's imaginative, but sets the stage with a clear goal. Hold back waves of zombies and ghouls so the few remaining wizards can cast that last spell and save the world. While you're not saving the world yourself, you're instrumental to it, and it makes the gameplay feel all the more epic. The Last Spell, at its heart, is a tower defense roguelike. Build barricades and ballistas to defend your wizard as he breaks the magical seal to help deliver that final spell. Build a number of structures to help develop your defenses, a temple to replenish health, mana wells for mana, an inn to recruit new heroes, various artisans for new weapons, and houses for your workers. The workers man the other structures or can be used to clear destroyed buildings or corpse piles to generate building materials and gold used each day to further your defenses. Each night, a horde of ghouls shambles in from one of, some of, or all of 4 directions to try and kill your wizards and stop the spell. This is one hell of a spell. Just part of it takes days to cast. Finally, you have your heroes. They can serve any combat role. They come equipped with certain weapons which can give you an initial direction for them, but they aren't locked to a particular class or weapon, though they may be more proficient in some than others. If you wanted to give all your characters bows and live out your best elven life, you could do, but it does help to have balance, and certain weapons bring additional benefits. Bows are great for hitting multiple targets in a turn, as are flintlock pistols. Wands and magical orbs can unleash devastating spells. Melee weapons and scepters are used at closer range, but can damage clusters of enemies effectively, and usually have some sort of stun damage as well. There's a ton of weapons here, and it took me dozens of hours before I unlocked them all. They bring plenty of variety to runs. Resources in runs are quite limited. Each turn you're going to need to prioritize and not say blow all of your mana in turn 1, as it takes time and effort, resources and upgrades to replenish. Same with defenses. If you spend turn 1 fortifying each side rather than focusing on the side the initial threat is coming from, they will just punch through your weak defenses and make short work of your wizards. Positioning your heroes and defenses well is key, as your main enemy here is compounding mistakes. A bad night can be hard to recover from and can really hamper a run. This can then cascade into an all-out rout. Each night, the success of your defense is scored by how panicked the town becomes. A monster or 2 breaching the walls is no biggie, but a horde sweeping through town will spook them and limit the rewards waiting for you at sunrise. Quite often the game isn't just about not losing, but winning as effectively as possible and deploying your heroes in complementary configurations whereby if one flank is struggling, other heroes are soon ready to come and pick up the slack. It's a great blend of strategy and action. The stakes feel high, the gameplay is a lot of fun, and I really enjoy the art style, especially the cutscene animations. The game as a whole is broken into levels and towns to unlock and defend, leading to the final stand. So it's a lot more like an episodic roguelite, but still, it's a lot of fun. It's just the right amount of strategy for me these days. Gone are the days where I desired balancing the books of an empire or leading huge armies into battle in grand strategy games. Fight through a night, plan for the next, and execute. It's an addictive loop. Unlike many games we cover, this one is in full release, and even has DLC expanding into the elves and dwarves of this world. But just like the rest of the games we cover today, you'll find it on Steam.
Windblown.
To be talking about Windblown in one of these videos feels kind of sad. I played the demo months ago and was genuinely excited for it. A top-down, my preferred flavour, action roguelike with a dreamy art style and solid combat. Developed by the team behind Dead Cells, this should have been a slam dunk. Maybe being not in the same lane as Dead Cells, like something like Rogue Prince of Persia. Maybe it's seen as just another Hades-like in a world full of Hades-likes. Maybe it's the co-op tilt of the game? I get that final point. For me, roguelikes are a solo pursuit. Whatever it is, Windblown is slowly turning into a hidden gem, maybe a bit better known than most, but not in the place you'd expect it to be. In Windblown, you play as your choice of furry. This doesn't affect your stats and probably is more important if you actually engage with the co-op. From there you have 2 weapons and 2 spells. The weapons are mapped to the X and Y buttons on an Xbox controller, and it's an interesting way of doing this, not wielding them one at a time. You have access to both at any moment. After building up a short combo with one weapon, you can switch weapons for an alter attack. This is honestly quite clunky. Sitting in a combo to hit this threshold was my most common way of receiving damage. When you do hit these attacks, I found sometimes they provided a dodge avoiding damage, and sometimes they wouldn't. The combat really doesn't provide many windows for attacks, especially with higher end enemies and bosses, which feels at odds with this core mechanic. Building up enough damage on an enemy allows you to execute them for additional resources. This is implemented a lot better than alter attacks, as it's a button press which registers immediately, and this cancels you out of your current attack animation. Otherwise, the main appeal here is the visuals. This is a pretty roguelike, finding ways to implement quite a standard formula but leaving it feeling quite different. Unfortunately, there are bits that feel a lot like style over substance, like these corridor sections in the second level serving no real gameplay purpose, which is a shame. This could be a decent spot for a fight. Instead, it's where you're breaking more of these robots. In the first level, depending on which route you go down, this is pots on the ground. These sorts of breakable extras should be optional, but here you kind of need to smash everything to get maximum currency for good progression. It just kind of feels awkward and quite tedious after a little while, and it kind of loses the joy of smashing things for the fun of it. While the visuals look good, there isn't a strong theming to underpin the design. With so many roguelikes out there, I feel like a strong visual identity can really help a game stand out. This doesn't quite find itself, at least in the time that I spent with the game. A big issue here is that a lot of this is balanced for co-op. The bosses feel balanced for co-op. The enemies, seemingly because of those tight windows, is really there to make openings for other players to jump in and attack. There's no real way to gain back your heals very easily, and heals when you use them as a group can heal everyone, so that's why it's quite limited in that way. So in limiting it for co-op players, it's also limiting it for solo players, and makes the whole experience just doesn't quite come together if you're playing it on your own. At least that's how I felt. Windblown really has a solid core, a really nicely designed world, but needs a little bit more meat on the bones. Ironically, it makes the same mistakes as the Rogue Prince of Persia did when it first came into early access, and limits the player's item pool. 3 trinkets is not enough for good variety. 4 trinkets was not enough for Rogue Prince of Persia. Swapping in and out of bonuses is not where the fun is in this genre. Let us stack bonuses upon bonuses. Rogue Prince of Persia eventually figured that out, and I hope Windblown does too. Definitely one to be aware of, but maybe more if you're into co-op roguelike games, and less so if you're looking for a solo experience. We've wandered into the territory of better known hidden gems. Let's get back to the obscure.
Synthetic.
If I had to point to one game on this list and say, it's your fault that this video took months to make, I would point with 2 fingers at Synthetic and the next game on this list. But initially, it was all synthetic. Set in an alternative past, AI supercomputers have waged war against humanity, and you, an android, are humanity's last hope of stopping the Machine Legion unleashing the heart of Armageddon. Let's start with the bit that surprised me the most about Synthetic. From the screenshots on the store page, I found the art style a little bit off-putting, but in motion, oh boy was I wrong. I absolutely love it. It has a bit of a 90s vibe injected with a healthy dose of futurism, and it's a really interactive world. Shots leave shell casings on the floor, hits on your enemies leave oil spills, orbital lasers leave burnout trails across the room. The art style is really clean, and then there's these smoke effects that are realistic, and it's almost surreal. The attention to detail is obscene, with all the little Roombas and other robots roaming around, and the different equipment in the level, each making unique sound effects depending on what it's hypothetically doing. It all comes together to create a world which is a joy to stomp through. While randomized, these levels really feel like they have a lot of love and care and attention put into them. Synthetic is structured like most roguelikes. There's occasional choice in the form of a couple of alternate levels you can pursue, otherwise it's level after level, RNG from beginning to end. These alternate levels allow you to pick more dangerous zones to enter for the promise of increased rewards. This is in the form of higher grade weapons, upgrades and relics. The game does a good job of consistently peppering you with upgrades to give you a solid sense of progression. Most of these are item based, there aren't level up rewards, but you can get upgrades for your robot body over time. Relics can be passive or ones requiring activation, weapons can be modded and upgraded across the run. You will start with a choice of special items depending on your chosen class, but beyond that each run is fairly unique with a huge variety of weapons, items and scenarios. Bosses too can switch out. Some are straight up 1v1 fights, some boss battles are defense missions against waves of enemies, some are destroying a specific target before it reaches the other side of the level. The combat itself is slick and fast paced, lots of taking cover and flanking enemies, which is one of my favourite things to do in any shooting game. The additional relics and items can help get the player out of sticky situations, drop a turret to occupy enemies while you flank around, hit them with an orbital laser as they're in a bottleneck, timing reloads, dodges and taking cover to ensure no wasted movement and dominating every combat encounter, until you get dogpiled by a bunch of cyber assassins. Overall, such a fun game, deep, tons of weapons, tons of options, tons of customization, loads of classes, loads of different ways to play, and there is also co-op here as well. It's got that classic roguelike drive to boot up the next round immediately after the last. Keep an eye on the time and don't get too caught up in the action if you do decide to pick this one up.
Y'all sleeping on Undermine.
What better time to talk about Undermine with its sequel having recently entered early access. Undermine is an action-adventure roguelike. You head into the Undermine, level upon level upon level of dungeon, exploring and fighting your way to the bottom, defeating bosses and picking up items to unlock the way for future runs. Each run you control a different adventurer with a sidekick who's usually a little bird who's at hand to carry a portion of your gold to the next adventurer in the likely scenario that you fail to reach and defeat the final boss. I really like roguelikes where you're not some semi-immortal demigod, but instead a carousel of half-wits, lucking their way to success. Combat in Undermine is pretty straightforward. Hit foes with your pickaxe, throw it like it's Mjolnir, or use bombs for maximum damage. I like how each of these attacks doubles up for exploration, with strikes digging for gold, throws gathering items, and bombs are used for clearing obstacles and uncovering secrets. Making dual use of each keeps the game feeling clean and not cluttered with a million buttons. This is rounded off with a jump for traversal, but also used for dodging attacks. There is no dash here, so the art of jumping and landing safely is important for late game success. Undermine handles progression in an interesting way too. Instead of every upgrade in a run being a net positive, quite often these upgrades come with the potential to be cursed. This can be everything from directly weakening you by reducing your health or the damage you do, to straight up denying you the ability to use potions. It's thought-provoking during a run, as these pickups are always a gamble, injecting additional variety into the run and almost stalling the huge bursts of progress till a couple of layers in, as curses can be lifted at altars but for the cost of health, so usually you'll have to cope with a debuff for a little while, just kind of depending on where the room configuration is for that level. Mastery over combat rewards you with more options around curses and their cures, as you'll naturally be holding more health that you can then invest in more upgrades. Once you get a few relics and shed some of these curses, in the mid to late game your character rounds the corner and turns into a wrecking ball. But you're always expendable, and always have a degree of vulnerability. A few wrong moves can completely destroy a run. Your character's inherent vulnerabilities are exploited by a cast of characters that keeps you on your toes. Initially these are rats, bats, and jellyfish? Weird, I thought it would be cats. But deeper into runs, electric bugs, mages, gargoyles, and armored knights all require slightly different approaches. Each time you enter a room, you don't know what's waiting for you on the other side. Is it a setup and enemy list that fits your build, or something that plays perfectly into your curses and shortcomings, requiring a little bit more caution? After a few runs, you'll start gathering thorium. This allows you to craft a relic at the start of the run, giving a great initial boost and a great direction to take the run in from the get-go. This whole setup is a ton of fun. I really enjoyed this world. It actually feels lived in, which can be rare for one of these games, something that it shares with Synthetic. The critters that pop out the walls to snag your gold, making the simple act of looting a desperate scramble, recurring characters and the interactions between them that adds a layer of intrigue to who's who and why they're all here. The art style is nice, and while keeping readability strong, it controls smoothly with thoughtful tweaks to the established melee, ranged, and dodge formula. This is such an addictive game, it had me coming back multiple times, even through writing this part of the script, and I'm probably going to go play it some more as well. It does take a little time to get going. It can feel like you don't have much going for you early doors, but once you break off a good run and come back with plenty of gold, the game really does open up. If you like exploration and adventure in your roguelikes, give it a look.
I have never been defeated. The galaxy is mine!
I did miss a lot of these roguelikes/roguelites. I was playing BlazBlue Entropy Effect and Astral Ascent.
For me, there is one thing above all else that makes a great roguelike: variety. Look, there's an inherent sameness baked into the roguelike formula. Quite often you're the same character fighting the same enemies in the same areas repeatedly. You really need everything else about a run to feel wildly different to keep the runs from getting stale and boring. I've played so many roguelikes who have a couple of weapons and a couple of power-ups and call it a day on variety. Those have me snoozing after like 5 runs. Astral Ascent, holy sh**. This game has an insane amount of variety. You play as one of 4 characters trying to escape the Garden, the universe's loveliest prison. I mean seriously, this game is stunning. Between you and escape is 4 biomes guarded by 4 bosses and a big bad at the end. While the biomes and their order stay the same, there is a pool of 12 bosses from which the 4 you face are chosen, and so you never know who might be waiting for you round the corner. You have your weapon for its basic attack, a special attack on recharge, 4 spells from a list of like hundreds. Each can be customized with 4 different effects, and an overall imprint giving it other abilities. You have a number of auras, essentially trinkets, which maybe enhance certain attacks and effects and buff certain playstyles. You then have echoes. This is assistance given to you by the other denizens of the garden, from healing to just whacking each boss in the face for 20 damage. Along the way, some bosses may even take a liking to you and come help you out from time to time if you complete their challenge room during a run. The number of parameters allowing for variety here is absolutely nuts. I played dozens of runs with just one of the characters and never got bored. This is also helped by the movement and controls. The movement in this game is slick and smooth and satisfying. Dodging, jumping, double jumping, attacking in the air. You know how versatile the movement system is when there's a challenge to use all your moves to stay off the ground for multiple rounds, hitting dozens of targets in the air, and it's pretty straightforward to do once you know what you're doing. The enemies are interesting and take some studying. The first time you enter a biome is of course the most dangerous point in any roguelike, and here this is amped up to 11. So often I would land in a new zone and have no idea what enemy was planning to do. They really keep you on your toes, and it's worth not just stomping them even if you're able to. You will be coming back again and will need to know in future what you're dealing with. The structure of the biomes themselves have a lot of thought and variety baked into them as well. The levels themselves are pretty straightforward, but there is a risk and reward system at play with the levels that you pick. After each level, you pick where you head next, and these levels have rewards like keys or spell imprints, but also each one will have a star rating. The higher the star rating, the harder the level. Stars are then a key currency, and having a lot of them is important to a deep run. Stars are used to buy potions at the pre-boss shop, each one increasing a stat. Sometimes a special potion appears and it will level up 3 stats for the same price all at once. Alternatively, stars can be used to heal. Risk and reward. The more risk you take throughout a biome, the more rewards in the form of higher stats for the biomes ahead. Understanding and knowing your enemies in these biomes, familiarity with the combat, fully utilizing movement and spells, and putting yourself in a position to pick up maximum upgrades heading into each boss. Oh, and the bosses. They each have style and personality, which for me is the most important part of a boss fight. Boss fights should be these memorable encounters, not blank slates or just a jacked up version of an enemy from earlier. So often games like these rely on absurd boss health pools, second health bars, third states, but not here. These bosses are absolute glass cannons. These fights are bursts of serious aggression rather than 2 boxers slugging at each other for round after round. Each of these bosses is a star sign, the elements of the zodiac playing out in their combat style and their design. Gemini are twins, Leo is aggressive, and Taurus has these deadly charge attacks. These boss fights, including the end one, are the cherry on top of an absolutely delicious experience. And this is coming from a guy who isn't even a fan of 2D side-scrolling games. I truly believe that's the highest praise you can give a game. it made me enjoy a genre that isn't usually for me. If you're already partial to these sorts of games, I think you owe it to yourself to give it a go. Astral Ascent is absolutely phenomenal, and I really look forward to playing more of it. And so there's our list of hidden gem roguelikes recommended by you. Some more hidden than others, and some more gems than others, but all worth a little bit more love than they're getting just now. I'll be back soon with another multiple roguelike game video, but until then, remember to like and subscribe so I don't get lost in the algorithm, and I'll see you next time. Toodles!